There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.
There we are. Hola, bon dia, alegria, Munson here. The Munson's here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Mrs. M, may I say to you, not for the first time this year, Happy New Year, Bon Anno Novo to you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm still feeling a bit queasy, actually.
Yes, you've not been well for the last couple of days.
I've got a hot water bottle underneath my dress.
Oh.
And I'm
I thought you were just pleased to see me.
No, actually, I'm looking kind of pregnant, but I'm not.
It's not that, is it?
No,
right.
Definitely
Right,
not.
just checking. Good morning, everybody. Oh, it's so nice to be back in the saddle, isn't it?
You've missed your chance to talk.
What do you mean?
At your community. Talk with your community.
Talk at the community.
You've missed your opportunity to chat, haven't you?
What do you mean over the last week?
It
seems like ages since we were here.
Yeah, I know, but without your sort of I think this is like therapy for you.
It's true, isn't it?
I think it's really beneficial for you, and so
you've been
looking like I've almost expected to see you walk into a room and see you like talking to a chair or something,
or the mirror, like a budgie.
Is that what I need to do?
Give me a little mirror by the side of the bed and I'll just talk to myself.
Okay, I think that's what we need. A few mirrors everywhere.
Okay, all right. I'm just checking your audio processing here. Big Bottom I think we got rid of Big Bottom, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think you're optimized anyway. We shall see.
Thank you. My Big Bottom is optimized for sure.
Boom, boom, Brazil.
How is everybody? That's what I want to know.
Yes, Lee's here. Lord Gilchrist, T-Duck. Coach Turner was in early. James is here, of course, will be joining us at 9. And I disappeared for a moment, didn't I, as the titles are running, because I realized I'd forgotten to bring this is a resolution for me in a really good way. I've got my Jenny B planner here, and I'm making my show notes on it. You know, I'm always not cursing exactly, but cussing about the things I've forgotten to say because I never write anything down. Well, now I've started to use my fabulous planner from Jenny B. Of course, you can see Jenny B's Portugal Club interview that I posted last night. If you don't know who I'm talking about, Jenny B, she might be joining us on Friday, but she's got other things on her mind at the moment, hasn't she? Of course. So hopefully she'll be able to join us. But
mate.
I'm not finished yet. I've got a lot to say. It's been a whole week.
I think.
Go on. Go on.
I think you should
go on.
I think you should raise.
Go on.
I think you should raise your chair a little bit, because when you're talking, your mouth is behind your. That's how it looks.
Okay, is that not a good look?
So we've not been able to see your mouth move. Your mouth has been underneath the CarlMunson.com.
And I can touch your feet. Do you like the new studio setup?
Well, I like the fact that
Have you got anything to moan about? Is basically what I'm saying.
No, I'm just saying for your own benefit and for the benefit of people watching you. That's better. We can see you now.
Yeah, but okay. All right.
Because you do also have a tendency to slouch back in your chair.
Oh, God. Crikey. You've got a lot on your mind, haven't you? Banging the table and all sorts going on this morning. Okay.
Jim Munson, what's that about?
That's me looking in my little mirror. Can I have a bit of cuttlefish as well by the side of the bed?
Yes,
in case I get hungry in the night. All right. That's such a good idea. Love that. Anyone?
And you can just poop on the floor and I'll just...
On sandpaper?
And I'll just wait for it to dry, and then I'll roll up the sandpaper once a week.
Yeah, instead of a rug by the side of the bed, just a great big piece of sandpaper. Why is this? Isn't that uncomfortable for Budgie's little feet when you've got sandpaper in the cage like that?
I don't know.
Did your gran have a budgie, like all grans should?
Yeah, my mum did as well. We had budgies at home for...
And didn't you have a roasted budgie once as well?
On a few occasions. Oh, what's happened to my hair?
Did you have roasted budgie?
Not deliberately.
It's not a Kent delicacy.
No. My mum once went out for the day and left the... hang on.
Okay.
And left the left of the budgie cage.
Yeah. Are you dispensing with headphones?
No. I'm just
breaking one of the first rules of broadcasting.
Okay. Whoops. She went out for the day and she'd left the budgie cage in the conservatory. And when we came back, 2 budgies had been roasted.
Okay, and did your dad? I can imagine your dad saying, "Breast or leg?"
Well, my mum was very upset. She
Of
was
course
crying
she
her eyes out.
was.
And then another budgie in our
It's not
family,
funny.
my grandmother's, like mum's mum.
Yeah.
We bought her a budgie to keep her company.
Yes. So thoughtful.
Yeah, and she loved it. They got on really well. And then one day, because she was a little bit sort of Alzheimer-y, she had forgotten that she'd left the budgie cage open.
Yeah.
And so when I went round, because like oldies don't necessarily open their windows very often, so the budgie was definitely in the house.
True.
And when I went round, the budgie had fallen behind a radiator and that was where its last resting place was.
Well, you left it there?
No, obviously I moved it.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that update on the budgies of
so
the Tanner
maybe...
family of Kent. It's a little book, isn't it? The budgies of all the ill-fated budgies of the Tanner family.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how everyone else has enjoyed having budgies. I mean,
and the doors are open now, aren't they? The doors are open for confessions with pets.
Well, of course, the budgies are very much loved in Portugal, aren't they? And canaries and things like that. Yeah, like when you go through town and you all of a sudden
I found
a
canary on the street once, didn't I?
Yes.
That they're so loved. One was just out on his own, and I rescued him.
Yeah, we went and got a cage, didn't we?
We did.
It lasted with us for about 3 weeks or something.
He was a happy little soul, wasn't he? I think we had a special bond, me and that budgie, canary. I mean, anyway, that's yes.
But you hear, like as you're walking through town, you'll often hear the sound of a really pretty little bird, and you're looking around thinking, "Oh, where's this little bird?" And then you see people have got their cages, their bird cages on their balconies, and there's like birds everywhere on the balconies.
So interesting you should say that this morning, because I was out this morning with the dogs. I have hit the ground running this year. I'm getting up earlier. Did you notice? Yeah, out with the dogs, early doors.
We had some time to be a bit sarcastic with each other this morning.
Wasn't it great? It was fantastic, wasn't it? Extra time to be sarcastic with the loved one in the morning.
Without children.
I'll look forward to it tomorrow with my new resolution. But I recorded this. Now, hopefully, I'll be able to try something here.
Okay.
Because we're going to need this for the phone-in later on. Which is the way this is going to be working. Okay, pair up with the Rodecaster Pro here, connected for audio, and you should be able to hear what I heard this morning, everybody. Let me see if this is going to work now. Having said all of that, not going very well so far, is it? No. That's better, though, isn't it? I'll just leave it playing in the background. That was, it sounds like a BBC sound effect with the walking on gravel as well.
It does. Is there a bit where you swear at Jimmy?
No, I edited that bit out. And the bit where I crouch down and pick up his droppings. I didn't.
His morning ablutions.
I didn't record that.
Maybe we need some sandpaper for him as well.
You love that guy. Okay. Well, there you go. That's that. The phone is all set up and ready for you to call us on 003519135900303, but not yet. Not until after we've welcomed James this morning. It's Mindful Migration Monday, of course. He is the Frasier of migration, and I've got a little ticker tape somewhere about Mindful Migration. Here we go. Moving to Portugal. Any questions? There you go. That'll work, won't it? That's not date stamped for last year. And talking, and look at as if by magic, he suddenly appears in the green room and nibbling away at all the canapes and the champagne, the slightly flat champagne left over from Christmas that he's helping himself to. So we'll see James around 9 o'clock. Yes, that is the number to call at 9:30 when we start our European phone-in. How excited are you, Mrs. M, about the new European phone-in?
Do you know what? I'm excited. I think it will probably take a little while to build up, won't it? You know, because
we shall be at 9:30. We'll just be twiddling our thumbs, hoping somebody will call in. But from little acorns,
exactly. And I've seen you grow things from scratch many times.
Yes, most evenings, right? The little acorns.
Not even from a little scratch, but from a little stroke. But anyway, you grow things quite well, and
yes. More of a grower than a shower, it has to be.
Yeah,
said.
but I would say that you listen to phone-ins quite a lot, don't you?
I love the genre.
You really love the genre, and I think you're destined for that kind of genre.
I see. Okay, you're sort of late at night, like the Donald Fagen cover, The Nightfly. Hey,
maybe.
caller, yeah, go ahead. Which part of Europe? Yes, because when I was doing my little Europe recording last night, exciting people about my own newfound excitement about the continent of Europe, I was thinking it's really bright in this studio, and that's not how the phone-in guys do it. They tend to be like the Nightfly cover, in a single.
Well, they're in kind of like dark grey.
Well, they don't have to light themselves,
studios.
do they? It's only voice. It's not.
Yeah.
It's no pictures, so you can be as dark as you like in there. And they probably can't smoke anymore in there. And the new legislation means I don't suppose you can smoke anywhere near a radio studio. And I'm not thinking of just taking up smoking for the pose of having my own phone in. Coach Turner would not approve of that.
Or me.
Or anyone,
or
probably for that matter, except fellow smokers who like to, excuse me, take you down that path. That wasn't meant to sneak out quite like that. There I am talking about being a radio professional and doing a little burp live on it. Let's go to Coach Turner then, and some fantastic content from T-Duck this morning. Top producer T-Duck is firing on all cylinders again this morning, straight back at it in the saddle. We were talking, he and I, earlier this morning on WhatsApp, and he was talking about how, of course, the new year is a blank slate into 2023. What you're binning this from last year, and what's winning, what's binning, what winning formulas are you going to carry through with you into 2023, and what are you leaving firmly in the bin of 22? Do let us know. Some excellent content to share with you, including dad jokes, hugununus, and thoughts of the day, deep thoughts of the day from T-Duck in just a little while. After this then, Mrs. M, look, bon dia a todos and welcome to the new year. Hopefully one that is happy and healthy. It's what we hope for, isn't
Excellent,
it?
Yeah.
Sometimes we even act like it as well. God's scored tip of the day then. After the indulgence of the last week or so, at least for me, says Coach Turner, this week I will be mainly detoxing, says Coach Turner. So no booze before the weekend, and lighter, more veg-based meals. Yeah, I can hear him almost groaning in Hertfordshire after the excesses of the Christmas week, and back to normal next week. Oh, but the boozing.
Does that mean the boozing recommences?
I think so. It would look like it. And what's this? Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Is this what you were doing in the studio when I couldn't get in earlier this morning?
I didn't put the link for Cancer.
That's a bit cancerous, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
That will be me, of course, but I can get my forecast direct from you. I'm glad to say other Cancerians might not be so. Well, how sensitive and easily offended
they are going to be offended. Let me just sort that out now.
All right. So what is this about? And where's everything gone now on the screen?
Oh. Did I?
You took us out.
Oh,
you took us out. Well, no, we're getting used to this new situation. We both
so
have
I can't use the keyboard any time when you're live.
You can, but I can't then see what's going on. But I coped with it. Did you see how ably I coped with that thing? Basically being plunged into darkness there. Yeah. But what are these 5 minutes of forecast then? What's going on?
They're 5-minute forecasts for the year ahead. So I've distilled a whole year's worth of astrology down into 5 minutes per star sign.
For the whole year?
Yeah.
Right.
For the whole year.
What the headlines basically?
Yeah, because they're slightly different for each person, like for each star sign, according to how you see it.
Yes.
So for the Cancerians, just click on any of the other links and it will take you to the playlist and you'll find your one there. I'm sorry about that.
Yes. Poor old Cancerians. Don't take it personally, Cancerians. You know what you're like.
Funny thing is, I think I did mention about, taking things personally in the actual video. I'm pretty sure I did.
I imagine you did.
Yeah, and each month I'm doing a breakdown of each sign each month. So there's also going to be, I'm a bit late because of this sort of vomiting attack, but I've got half of the January forecast already done. So
and you're feeling better now, aren't you? I mean, it kind of blighted our New Year's celebrations, didn't it? We may have gone to the beachfront to see the fire. I've got some fireworks for everybody. Actually, we'll officially celebrate the New Year with some Lisbon fireworks. But that was a pretty awesome, wasn't it? What we missed, but you took badly earlier on in the day.
Yeah. Like just absolute sudden, like very violent,
nauseousness.
Vomiting
with emissions. Yes, okay, not to put too fine a point on it then. James will deliver this greeting himself in a little while, but James is ready to speak to you. A bit of mindful migration at 9 o'clock, and of course joining us, he's listening callers from 9:30 when we start the big European phone-in. We're expecting our switchboard to be broken by incoming calls. Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
T-Duck. Bon dia, GuMPerZone. Let's start with a deep thought from T-Duck. We were talking about tabula rasa. So he was talking about blank slates. The phrase. Does anyone else? Is it just me or tabula rasa? Do other people know that phrase?
I know that because I was a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan back in the day, and they had a show called Tabula Rasa. Yeah,
I think it is a kind of literary theme that is a little bit esoteric, but it basically means the scraped palate or something like that. I think I may have picked it up on my travels around the Far East. I'm not sure. Deep thought then. Music is another way of thinking, or maybe thinking is another kind of music.
Very nice.
And sometimes not the most symphonic, is it? When you see how people think.
Well, if you could hear the sounds of people's thoughts.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I'd rather not. If
some would be really lovely, and some would be like really crashy bashy.
It would, wouldn't it? Like Shostakovich versus possibly Mozart in terms of how people think. And that will be Ursula K. Le Guin. Have I pronounced that right? How would you go with that as a native French speaker?
I'm not a native French speaker. And is it even French? Is it French?
Le Guin. I think Le Guin was probably how we'll get away with it.
I would have probably say Le Guin.
Le Guin. Okay. Ursula Kroeber Le Guin was an American author, best known for her works of speculative fiction. I know the name, but not the works of fiction. Have you read any Le Guin?
I don't even know that's how it's pronounced. But
have you read anything?
No.
However, it's pronounced.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Portuguese saying of the day then. Shall I throw this at James when he arrives? Sol que é muito madruga, pouco dura. Sun that rises very early does not last long. Well, so much for getting up early this morning then. Early ripe, early rotten, or precocious children will be more trouble later on.
Well, isn't that fantastic? Our kids are really slow to rise, aren't they?
They
take their time.
They are. Does this mean like bright stars burn fast as well, maybe?
Probably.
It could do, couldn't it? So be careful. Don't peak too early with a little bit
Which
of
is quite a Portuguese
wisdom.
way of being, isn't it?
What, not getting up too early or not being appointments too early? What are you saying?
Not like, being in a rush to do anything.
We will be addressing this on the Expats Portugal webinar.
And I think that's great.
Well, this Thursday, there was a fantastic discussion of Portuguese etiquette on the webinar this Thursday evening at 7:30 with a star-studded panel, including Philomena. So we will be talking about such things, whether people are right. What are you doing?
Just practicing.
Are you enjoying
we can actually look over.
We're face to face now. We're not doing any more of this stuff, aren't we? Are you preferring this? Is it working for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Ugo Nunu then. The Portugal flag is green for hope and red for the blood of the nation.
Seriously?
While the central symbol celebrates defeating the Moors. Nothing like it, is it? Yay!
Wow. I've never really thought of green representing hope.
Well, pastures new, trees.
Okay.
Growth. Yeah, come on.
I'd had a forest green or something. It's like green. Green sort of looks to me, looks a little bit sort of acidic and.
Well, that particular shade of green.
Yeah, it's not a great green, I don't think. But that's interesting.
That's a whole nation possibly offended, as well as the Cancerians now.
Yeah. Okay.
But look at that, this defeat and war. Oh, bless you. I'm not so keen on the idea of us sitting opposite each other now. Okay, we'll come back to those fantastic dad jokes at the end. And we had a visual dad joke at the beginning. Very, very good. Thank you for that, James. We'll share that when you're on the screen with us. Boa anno. There. A prospero, feliz e buon anno to everybody, of course. And Anna Olsen, where are you, Anna? Are you in Stockholm? Look at that. Bon dia, alegria, GuMPers and Felicia Nonova from Stockholm. I like my 2023 forecast. There you go. There's a satisfied customer already. And a lovely greeting from Lord Gilchrist. I wonder if we're on his New Year's honours list. Has
he actually got an honours list?
Has he actually got a title? He says so, Lord Gilchrist. And I wonder if he's able to bestow honours and behead people and that sort of thing. I'd rather have the former than the latter there, Andy. Can you give out a few honours this morning on the Good Morning Portugal show? Let's do that. Let's have people kneeling before you and being honoured. I know what you're thinking, Lord Gilchrist, but keep it clean, mate, and maybe bestow a few honours on us this morning with your peerage. How did you get that peerage? Maybe it's.
Isn't it just one you made up for him?
It's probably most peerages. It's to do with either giving the incumbents loads of money or defeating people. Going back to the flag, blood and defeat. That's how you get in the House of Lords, isn't it?
Hey, is it true that if you get knighted that you can't be prosecuted.
I'm not likely to find out, but I don't think that's true. I think people with honours do get disgraced.
Right.
So I don't think that's true. I imagine that may have been true back in the day, but it can't be anymore because there's some right old wrong uns, aren't there, who get knighted and bestowed with honours. So I hope that's not true. Good morning, people from Lee. Good morning to you, Lee. See you in a week's time for the next Gardeners
Lee,
Q&A.
Carl showed me pictures of your lovely baby. Oh my goodness, what a beauty.
Heart-meltingly beautiful little Eve. And I love, it's a confession already, I love a saco de agua quente. What's that? A hot water bottle? Literally. Is that what the Portuguese call a hot water bottle? A sack of hot water? Are you not feeling well either still?
Oh,
He's been
no.
badly as well. He's had some kind of lurgy, and he's also had some musculoskeletal challenges as well.
I've got a fluffy pink one.
That thing has seen better days.
It
When I was filling it up, I was thinking I need to get you a new one of those.
Can someone tell me where they get the saco de agua quente from in Portugal?
Okay.
So I'd love to get a load for the family.
Yes, okay. And you would have thought in this age there would be rechargeable ones, right?
There are.
You can get electronic
hot
water
I've seen them at the Chinese shop,
not to be mixed.
They looked like they were solid.
Would be careful.
They were really.
Oh, what, like an old bedpan kind of?
No, like that funny thing your mum sleeps on.
It looked
like
pillow.
It looked like
porcelain pillow. Yeah.
It looked like it was like ceramic, and it got heated. It didn't look like it was going to yield to my shape.
No, I'm not being unkind here when I think to myself and share with you publicly that buying an electronic hot water bottle from a Chinese shop for what, €3 or something might not be the safest way of keeping warm in the winter, right?
Yeah.
Be careful. Mrs. M to Carl, this show is like therapy for you, so please don't ever take a week off again. Well, it's the first time we've done that, isn't it?
It is actually.
But yeah.
You've done very well. You've been very well behaved.
And I thought Gilchrist had retired. He says, sadly, back to work today, and it's all about posture. Well, everything is all about posture. Carl looks like the top of a balloon. Thank you very much. Well,
see,
people
haven't needed to
People haven't started the year any politer, have they? And here he is. He's admitting to liking a cockatoo. Sandpaper is to file the toenails, and the cuttlefish is to keep the beak shut.
Thank goodness there are people that know.
Budgie aficionados here. Yeah. Budgie-philes.
Budgie-philes.
Bon dia. Bon ano novo from the beautiful Bairrada. Andy, I've got a video from you, haven't I? I might have to carry that over to tomorrow because I'm running out of time to play the Lisbon firework video, which is awesome. So he likes a cockatoo or a grey parrot. He likes a budgie smuggler as well, I think, as well as the budgies. Budgies are what this? Apparel. What does that mean? Apparel. Oh, budgies are parakeets. That was a typo. Okay, well, thank you for that. I think we've had a little bit of budgie talk before, haven't we?
We have, and yes, it's a parakeet in the
thank
US.
you, James. James is making that clear for us there. Superb. Okay, to be sarcastic is fantastic. There's another merch line for us. T-shirts with that on. To be sarcastic is fun. Who? Us? And let me just play this video then. Officially, Happy New Year to you. These were the fireworks.
Yeah, because I haven't actually got to see any fireworks at all.
You've not? Oh, no. Okay, this is for you then. And this goes on a lot. I might not play the whole thing, but just to see what you make of this. I think that's probably enough of that.
Wow.
Do you know
Sounds
what?
like there's a war going on.
I was thinking that when we were looking out over at the San Martino fireworks. After a while, it's like, will this ever end? And apparently, Amanda de Andrade, whose video that was from Twitter, Happy New Year, says Amanda. Armanda, all over the city of Lisboa. This lasted half an hour.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that's kind of stressful, isn't it? After that long.
I mean, the poor old budgies. I hope they took them in off the balconies.
Yeah. You can follow Armanda de Andrade at Armanda with an R, Andrade on Twitter. What's this? Paintings, travel photography, poems, history, and I dream in the dream of another space. And I dream, I see, I feel, and embrace. That's an interesting Twitter account, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Armanda, well, you didn't let me. I just borrowed it straight off Twitter because I think I just feel Twitter is in the public domain.
Of course it is.
And there you have a credit there.
Yeah.
Armanda Andrade there. So yes, on a serious note, have a fantastic new year. You were talking about 5 minutes of each of the star signs, the sun signs there, Mrs. M, astrologically speaking. Generally speaking, then, your forecast for 2023, it's going to be a spicy one, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got some really big changes, which don't often happen. And March and April, March in particular, is going to be a really big month. There's a lot of stuff, like it's going to be quite helpful for people like James, because there's a lot of stuff to unpack for people. And my sense for January is that it's going to take quite a while to get going, but after the 22nd, as we go into funnily enough, the Chinese Year of the Rabbit, things will start to, come together. We'll start to feel like we can get moving. But we've got Pluto going into the sign of Aquarius. Now, Pluto takes like 20 odd years to go through a sign. And he's like, Pluto is all about transformation and kind of like the megalomaniacal powers.
You've been practicing that.
It's a hard word to say.
Right.
Pluto shows us controls and manipulations and gaslighting and all sorts of different control mechanisms that kind of keep us on our toes. And I wonder why I'm being blessed there. That's so sweet. Thanks, Raph. Raphael, I look forward to meeting you at some point this year. But yeah, Pluto, often Pluto shows us where we're trapped in our own judgments about ourselves, because, we're the worst people doing it to ourselves. But Pluto he's been in Capricorn for ages, which is the sign of the corporations. And if you think about it, in this last 20 years, the corporations have just got stronger. And it's just distilled. So you've just got one, out of all those news outlets now, I think all news are run by 6 news outlets, and everything has been sort of conglomerated, if you know what I mean. And so we're now going into the time of Aquarius, which is AI, but it's also independence, it's also creativity, it's also going to the beat of your own drum. It's also sovereignty. It's so many, and it's the rise of the community.
Yes, because whilst those corporations have got stronger and stronger, a lot of things are coming together. A lot of phenomenon and is it ideology? I don't know, but ideas are coming together around now, aren't they? Which to me is a great corroboration of the zeitgeist. And whilst the corporations are getting stronger, they're also becoming a bit more brittle.
Yeah, and they've
snapping point.
It's almost like they've come to the end of their reign.
Usefulness, right?
Now, I don't think they have, but they're going to be forced to change at some point, because the community's rising up. And the thing with the Pluto influence, it takes 20 years for you to really feel the fullness of it.
Yes.
So in 20 years' time, I do think the corporations will be long gone, and there'll be something much, more robust in place. Though, as Pluto is coming into its new sign, you start to see it coming, because it's slow moving. It's like an era just doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time to develop. And so in this last year, if you think about socialism and all things community based and all things about equality, those themes have really ramped up in this last year.
Yes.
In particular about sort of gender equality, and just everything really. It's just really ramped up. So I think the next 20 years are going to have flavors of all of it, and we're going to be in this kind of continuous balance about it.
Yep, well said. Okay, no one is above the law save for the king who creates the law. Again, I think I think
that should also be scrapped.
It just sounds so silly in our time, doesn't it? When when I guess
we should all be held accountable.
Yes, or we could all aim to be above the law,
Yeah.
could we not? In a good way, not in a way that avoids the law, but we just what is it? Too
we
many
could just
laws.
live according to what we think is right.
Well, there's a lovely
hold ourselves accountable.
Sculpture, art piece of public art on the banks of the River Thames near the new Tate Gallery, which says too many laws and too few examples. And we have so many laws now, don't we, to kind of control people for some reason, rather than trusting ourselves and each other. And I suppose one feeds the other, doesn't it? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that people no longer maybe analyze their own behavior. They just think, is there a law about this? Should I do this or not?
Yeah.
Rather than looking within, they're looking outside themselves for validation and so on. It's 2 minutes past 9.
Yeah, it's time we bring James on.
This is so rude, isn't it? And I was hoping to have a quick look at the news headlines. He's waving his finger at us. This is getting serious now from the back room there. And my mouse is playing up as well, unless you're moving yours.
No, it was me. Sorry.
We have a keyboard each and a mouse each.
I'm going to give this mouse up.
Okay. Are you? You can't take the responsibility?
No.
Okay. And Andrew Gilchrist can give out honours, so do please do that. And let's find James's walk-on music now, shall we? And welcome him to the show. We'll see him right after this. Oh, it's so good to hear that again, isn't it?
Bom dia, sim, sim.
Bom ano novo, feliz ano novo. How are you, my friend? Tudo bem?
Estou bem, obrigado. E tu?
Muito bem, muito bem. Right. What are we talking about today, James? It's a new year, isn't it? So it would seem like a great idea to bring together your mastery of migration mindfulness with the year ahead, because of course some people are girding their loins to move to Portugal, and I think you can be very helpful to them based on your own personal experience and your professional insight. So I think you've got one or two things to bear in mind, right? If this is the year that people are moving to Portugal.
1 or 2 or 100. Yeah, well, I thought it.
We've got the overspill, which is our blog on our website. So we'll take anything we don't manage to talk about to the blog. A bit like having a fight in the car park.
Excuse me.
Yes, and of course with the massive call-ins we're going to get, then who knows what's going to happen with all the time we have.
You too are fearing an overload of the switchboard, are you, this morning?
No fear.
All right. But we have technicians standing by in case we're completely overwhelmed, paramedics and everything.
There you go. Managing expectations. That's one of my ongoing approaches to life. So as I was looking at today, first of all, yes, I noticed the week. It's like it felt almost empty, especially in the mornings. Like, oh, I stayed in bed later than I have since I've been here because I didn't need to be up to catch the show, that kind of thing. I mean, I still woke up early, but I just didn't. There was nothing that I had to get out of bed for. So, I checked my messages and things on my phone, that kind of stuff, in bed instead of online at my desk. So that was a nice rest, but I did miss the pace and the routine of joining the show and the energy of it too. I love the uplifting, generally positive community that supports itself here. So as we
generally positive.
Yes, generally.
We're humans after all, aren't we?
I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to speak intentionally, especially if I'm in a position like this where I'm speaking to a lot of people. It's like I try to say what I mean, and yeah, so generally positive, yes. Occasionally there's a flare up and we have to get our little fire extinguishers out.
Yeah, it's our contrast, isn't it? I think it's quite right that it's like that, because I in many ways I would like us to be a kind of utopian upbeat, positive community.
Me
but
too.
It's those little slips every now and then, I think, isn't it, that help us to recalibrate and to be aware of what our true aims might be. I guess, we live in a world of light and dark, don't we? And yin and yang, and each is. I suppose as I'm sure we've said before, it's a matter of balance, isn't it? And certainly over the last few decades or centuries, you might say, I think the balance has been in favor of the negative, and we are in a process of recalibration and rebalancing.
Yes, and we're at a point where we're as technology develops and we're able to understand the physiological functions of us as human organisms, we're beginning to learn that we can overwrite our programming, or if not overwrite it, at least redirect it. So that simply because we're wired to be reactive, because it's kept us alive when we were cave people, doesn't mean that we need to keep doing that now. We don't need to be a victim of our chemistry, so to speak. It really is just chemicals and electricity running through our brain that's telling us what to do. And it did a great job of getting us here. We survived. We populated, or overpopulated even. But now it's like, how do we deal with the fact that we're designed to be reactive and be looking for the things that could endanger us, which is where the negative thinking goes, and work around that, redirect it. And that takes a lot of work, because we're actually rewriting our code as we go.
So, and maybe you could say that's what we're here for, right? I mean, we're work in progress, aren't we?
Well, I would hope that if nature is the example, then everything is here to evolve. What do we evolve to then in our more modern and hopefully aware states? We're able to do this reprogramming, but we have to be aware of the old programming. We have to be aware of what we would choose differently if we choose that, and then what do we do about that, the choices we're making. So it's a lot more effort. We can't just wake up, go kill an animal, bring it home, and make babies or whatever, protect ourselves from our enemies. It's a more complex structure that we're in now. So it takes a lot more work to live a conscious life.
Well said, sir. Well said. Really good stuff this morning. And on that basis, I'm just putting onto the screen here, winners and binners. What will you be bringing through as your winning formulas for 2023, and what are you leaving in the bin of 22? Do you operate in such a way? And I open that question out to everybody this morning, of course.
I don't tend to operate that way, and it's actually a perfect segue. As we came into the new year, I was thinking about somewhere toward our later shows at the solstice, and we're talking about the solstice, the winter solstice, representing the end of mostly darkness to the beginning of mostly light, and I realized the new year is similar to that. I started wondering, because I never knew how random is the calendar in terms of when it starts and when it ends. It's 12 months, it's so many days. So maybe we could have done New Year's on the winter solstice, and then they would have lined up perfectly. But it's close; it's within a week. So I don't think that's by chance. I think that those two things kind of come together. They just I don't know the history of how the ultimate modern calendar was put together the way it was put together. I know it mostly works. So anyway, I
was sorry to interrupt there, but I was reading something about this. The months are based on the moon cycle, hence the word month. And 2 extra months were chucked on, weren't they? Which is to do the solar cycle works well with 12 months, and the moon cycle is 10, I believe. And so they I don't know who are the people who would have designed the calendars. I suppose they would have been government officials or royal officials, wouldn't they, who would decide how these
mathematicians and astronomers were probably a big part of the process.
I would hope so.
There. Yeah.
I would hope so too, right? People who actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, and some native cultures is like the concept of a year. No, there's seasons and there's the moons. That's pretty much all that you really need. You need to know how many moons between this, that, which is generally a month, and then which section of those times it's cold or warm, or there's animals to hunt or whatever. Those are the basics. So even the modern calendar is, what is it? It's a quarter of a day off every year. So that's what leap year is about, so that we can jump ahead or back or whatever, add a day. So it's very close.
Pope Gregory had something to do with it. There you go.
Okay, that makes sense too.
If anybody wants to do any further research, and I know people do, we get caught by things that we think, oh, that's interesting. Why do we do that? I mean, I was talking about Europe last night on a live stream, and no one really knows why it's called Europe even. 745 million people live here on this continent / peninsula. And nobody really knows why it's even called that, let alone some of the other bigger questions for humanity. It's quite extraordinary, this sort of stuff. So if anyone is doing research into why we've got the calendar we have and what the Pope Gregory connection is, do let us know. Pop the links into the chat, and that might be of use to other people. But winners and binners, Jim is saying, and I interrupted you, James, but what is our collective experience when making and keeping New Year's resolutions? Do they work? I think you're moving on from that particular theme there, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, with this concept of new beginnings, it implies anyway that if we're going to be conscious, we have a choice to bring the old with us or to leave it behind. For me, the question always is, what serves me? And in terms of serves me, I'm talking about optimizes the quality of my life. So if I realize, I've got some, and we talked about this with luggage and baggage too. If I've got baggage from the previous year and I'm aware of it, then if I can simply let it go at the side of the road, that's for me a great choice. Oftentimes it takes some work to get the issues resolved before you can let go of them. But the idea is, for me anyway, how am I going to move forward into the next year so that it's even better than the previous year? And we've talked a little bit on the show about resolutions. I don't think they work. I tend to approach it more from intentions and dreams and directions and strategies for what we're creating next. I think that's more effective in actually getting something done. So the concept of resolutions is kind of like going on a diet. It's too general and it's too big. You need to look at, why am I doing this and how am I going to be able to sustain it? If I'm doing it to be healthier, then what is that diet going to look like? And how am I going to make that diet work for me so I can stay on it?
Yes.
So any choices we're making about how we want the new year to be has to be, for me, nothing has to be, but for the choices I make are how do I make this sustainable? I'm not a big exercise fan. Sorry, Ian. It's not something that I enjoy. Sports. If I'm not thinking about exercising, I do great. But if I'm jogging and all I can think about is the fact that I'm running and I'm breathing hard and I'm getting tired, that to me, unlike with Ian, where it's actually exhilarating, to me, it's just like, I could live without this. Yeah. So, but I know it's necessary. The joke I use as we age is, if I want to be able to lift a potato when I'm 90, I'm going to have to keep doing something to enable me to do that.
All right.
Which reminds me of a joke I thought of this morning. And as long as I'm thinking about it, I'll throw it out there. Ian, you might appreciate this for part of your exercise program. It goes something like, if you haven't been exercising much, don't start with too much effort. So, and if you don't want to buy expensive equipment, you can just use potato bags. Get a 5-pound potato bag and just lift it above your head, once. And when that starts to be easier and easier, then gradually increase it, to maybe 10 repetitions. So once you get to 10 repetitions of lifting that bag over your head, put a potato in it.
And that is how you'll be lifting a potato when you're 90.
Yes.
I mean, do we think that's a big enough goal? I don't know.
The point ultimately being that if I'm going to exercise, I have to be motivated to do that.
Yes.
If I'm going to choose, and this is one of my weak points, I'll be vulnerable in front of everybody. I still make exercise a pain in the butt. I don't have to do that, but that's what I do.
Yes.
So how do I motivate myself to keep doing something that I don't enjoy, or that I'm telling myself I don't enjoy? Well, for me, the motivation is I'm going to age, and I want to be able to, lift a full 5-pound bag of potatoes by the time I'm 90. It's like, and so I have to do it. It's like, what's my choice? Become old, feeble, and unable to move, which is not part of my goals. My long-term goals, I want to be mobile. I want to be have a certain degree of mental skills as I age. I want those things. So I need to do things to promote that. The mental part is easier for me. The physical part isn't. So I'm doing my exercises. And what gets me out of bed to do it is I don't want to be laying in a bed unable to move at some point. On a more positive trait, if I can get out and walk, for instance, I look at finding a place where I enjoy doing the walking. So it's actually pleasant for me to do it. Back in California, there's a beautiful little spot right in the city where I lived, which was a reservoir that was 2.7 miles, so about maybe 4.5 kilometers around. And it took me 40 minutes to walk that distance, 45 minutes. So it was perfect. And it had hills and it had levels, so ups and downs. So it actually had a built-in warm up, cool off, increase the challenge, and did that all in 45 minutes in a walk in a beautiful environment in nature. So I chose the environment because I enjoyed being in it. And then I said, well, you'll do that every day, 7 days a week. And I said, no, that's not realistic for me. That's not realistic for you, James. If you try that, you'll quit. You'll just quit. You know that. So what would work? I said, well, how about 5 days a week, like Monday through Friday? I said, maybe, but I think that would still be too much. So what I settled on was 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I like to structure things in my head when I can control it. So 3 days a week. And I said, will you be able to sustain that? Will you be able to find pleasure in the exercise if you do it 3 days a week, but you do it, make sure that you do it on those days? And I said, I think I can. And I did. I started the routine. And even on Tuesday, when I wasn't walking, I was actually starting to look forward to Wednesday. But if I had walked Tuesday, I might not be looking forward to Wednesday. So I found that balance where I could then sustain it, because sustainability is the issue. And this all comes around to this concept of resolutions. If you're looking at what your intention is, in this case, to be healthier, then I need to put a structure together that's going to work. And it's only going to work, I'm only going to become healthier if I keep doing it. Doing it for 3 weeks and quitting because I hate it is not going to get me to, I'm not going to fulfill that intention. So for anything that we choose for the new year, it's using that process of looking what motivates me, where am I going to derive some pleasure or some positive feedback that allows me to keep going. I did the same thing with ice cream. I used to eat, I loved having a scoop of ice cream every day, but I wasn't getting enough exercise to balance that off. So similar strategy. I ultimately said, if I eat ice cream, have a scoop of ice cream every other day, then I can get through the day that I don't have it, realizing I'm going to get it tomorrow. Right?
Yes.
And that was not, if it was, go ahead.
No, totally agree. And we're getting some excellent input here, because I think just in the way that Mrs. M was talking about things changing, the institutions and the institutions of thought and how we used to do things and how we might do things in the future. There is the GI generation may well have been able to say, right, that's it, we are doing this, and they stuck to it because there was a whole context for that, wasn't there? Is that you were a massive failure and a social outcast if you weren't your word, and all those sorts of things, which are perhaps noble pursuits and principles. But let's face it, we're not living in that generation anymore, are we? Things have changed, and we perhaps have got a little bit, I don't want to use the word smarter because that's a disrespect to previous generations, but
I'd say more aware.
More aware. There you go. That's a much better way of putting it. So we understand a little bit more about how, for those people it worked. But for those who fell off the wagon, it was a massive failure, wasn't it? Because they were the outcasts and pariahs and failures, and they could be seen and saw themselves in a certain way, which wasn't entirely functional. So we've moved on, haven't we? I think it's fair to say, and you're articulating that very well this morning, James, as usual. And if we use this as an example here, New Year's resolution: no more boxed junk food. Excuse me. The old way would have been, right, you just stop. And you just don't do it anymore. And what's wrong with you if you can't do it? And all that's old school New Year's resolutions, isn't it? And now we know that that's probably not going to work for Lord Gilchrist, is it? Guilt and shame and, and judgment. It's not going to get him through that, is it?
No. And ultimately, if your choices lead you to a life you can't stand, what's the point?
Well said. Yes, indeed. And people had a much greater capacity for that before, didn't they? Or they seem to, anyway.
Yeah, there's some of that mentality that if you're going to be tough, or you're going to be your word, or whatever that thing that keeps us tied in to how we appear to other people, then I think there was a willingness or certain acceptance of, well, sometimes life is just craps, and you just have to live with it. Which may be the truth, but it's not a very pleasant way to go through life. So for me, it's about making choices. And with the example of the boxed junk food, if you derive some pleasure from it, certainly reduce it. But if you take it away altogether, you might go, I know it won't go this extreme. I like to use extremes for examples, but it's like, oh, what's the point of living? I don't have my boxed junk food anymore. There's no good in that for moving into the future. So it's like the ice cream. 7 days a week was not healthy, especially given the exercise. So reduce it is what I did, and I got it down to 3, which was less than half the ice cream I was consuming. A fairly significant.
Yes, you still got
the pleasure 3 days a week, and had just enough time in between where I wasn't going to say, "Oh, screw it all. This isn't working. I'll just eat ice cream."
I hate my life. I hate my ice cream-free life. Yeah,
that's right.
So, what Lord Gilchrist might do here, Portuguese, is like really enjoy the Big Mac and fries and Coke, the American dream in a paper bag. And I'm not knocking it. Me too. Every now and then, it's a great experience for some of us.
Yeah, once a month, if you can get through a month without it, or once every 2 weeks, whatever frequency you can sustain.
Yes,
anything you do, even if it's 1 meal a week less, that's an improvement.
And on the upside, when you have it, enjoy it. Because it's a bit like people who smoke.
Don't feel guilty about it while you're doing. What's the point of that?
What is the point of that, isn't it? If you're going to smoke, you might as well enjoy it, rather than stand there hating yourself and feeling guilty as that cigarette is burning down to ash, having cost you however much it costs these days. So important to enjoy things. I'm really liking the balance that we're striking this morning. Apparently a great book from Jim White, who will be our guest on the Portugal Club tomorrow night, with this. What next after what now? We've been talking a lot about the what now moments, and our next stage after that for migratory fulfillment is what next, and we'll be talking to Jim about that tomorrow night on the Portugal Club. But Jim's saying here, a great book by Kelly McGonigal, The Willpower Instinct, talks about 3 kinds of willpower: the I will, I won't, and I want. I think we get the gist there, and it's using those in the right place, isn't it? The right tool in the right place, as always, to bring balance and joy to our lives. We heard again from Anna who said, follow your passions. That's, I think, is so important as well. Born dear Gumpers and Felicia Nonova from Stockholm. I like my 2023 forecast. Mrs. M, for you. And follow your passion. I'm not sure if we read that bit the first time through, so thank you for that, Anna. I hope we've helped you there, Lord Gilchrist, with your boxed junk food. Enjoy it, mate, when you have it. Maybe just cut down a bit rather than saying, no more. Will Thompson is in this morning. And is starting a grand jury, I think. He said earlier on, have failed a New Year's resolution about 100% of the time. That's the way it tends to go, isn't it? And what's this, Will? I just need to know if you can do Telegram, Carl. Well, I am on Telegram. If I can do another show and we recap our collective experience of 2021, 22, doesn't have to be here, just record. Yeah, be happy to help with that, Will. No problem at all. Joao F is here. Good morning, everybody. Let me once again
wish you
very happy New Year. Thank you, Joao. Great to have you here this morning. Following the White Rabbit, is that a New Year's resolution for Will, I wonder? And T-Duck. Will Thompson, 2,630 people. What are we talking about? Is that how many people you've invited to the phone in this morning, Will? I certainly hope so. Exercise. This is how it can go, isn't it? This is a slippery slope, James. Exercise. That right there is the slippery slope on which we can find ourselves, right? I want to be, says Jim, I want to be the most effective. I want is the pull to a future state or vow to something higher. There you go. So yes, I want, they see from that generation of the old days who used to say to kids, I want doesn't get. Well, maybe in certain contexts, but in other contexts, I want can be incredibly powerful, can't it? As we're seeing here. Thank you very much for that. T-Duck has been
and on that one word want. Again, I firmly believe in the power of our words and how we frame things. And to want means to lack. If I want it, then it implies we don't have it. And I believe that everything is available. So a simple switch for me, I choose to refer to problems as challenges because there is a distinct difference in how we hold that. Wanting and choosing are two very different things, but they accomplish the same thing. I'm choosing this for myself, and I understand the motivation of wanting, so I'm not putting that down. For me, it's just, I'm kind of pulled to throw in that language piece because I think it's so important. So I would say the same thing about what he said about want, but I would just use I choose these things. I'm choosing to move forward. I'm choosing to have these things.
Okay, thank you for that. The distinction, that nuance on the nomenclature there, if I've used that word correctly. T-Duck, this is great, and I think other people will be inspired by this as well. You've been endeavoring to walk 5 miles a day. If I can find your comment. Yes, here it is. I've been trying to walk 5 miles every day. That doesn't rain all day, which has made it quite difficult, hasn't it? I mean, I was yesterday, James, I was thinking of doing a dear diary. Here we are, day 126 of constant rain. It's what it felt like yesterday. It was incredible, the amount of rain that fell again yesterday. But anyway, when it isn't raining in Lisbon, you're out walking 5 miles every day. And that was 120, nearly 121 miles in December. That's fantastic. Will has pledged to do the same, but has managed 2 miles. So far, so a little bit of tweaking for Will's strategy.
2 miles is better than no miles. This is the thing.
Well done. Yes, let's give him a pat on the back for that 2 miles there. Let's be honest, isn't a lot of what we call tap dancing really just nerves? Jack Handy. Thank you. He slipped in a Jack Handy there. We are all just players on a stage. Ain't that the truth from Shakespeare? There, all the men are merely players. Yes, of course. And all the world's a stage. So are we feeling hopeful for the new year? That's a great question. All steps toward migration are falling in place. We're here. That's a good sign. It is good, isn't it, to be able to wake up in the morning and know that you're here. That's a pretty good start. It has to be said.
And how we feel is always a choice. How we feel is always a choice. So that's all up to us. How do we want to feel?
Well said. Well said. Will is quoting his namesake, the other Will Shakespeare there. So if we can bring the conversation, we talked a lot about resolutions there and resolution technology, or transformational technology might be a better way of putting it, because resolutions we've decided I know the whole baggage of resolutions doesn't seem entirely helpful. So transformation might be a more useful word to use there. As we ease our way into the new, all singing, all dancing, European phone-in, where we're inviting people, other people who we know and don't know from around Europe, to join us for this last half hour of the show. Let's see how this goes. It's a new experiment. And James, stay with us for this, because I've got a little intro for it. See you on the other side of this, my friend. That's nice, isn't it? I think we've got our first call. That's really great, isn't it? I mean, just the first thing I need to figure out is how to answer it. Look, we have a Lord calling us. Let's see if we can hear him. Lord Gilchrist, is that you or one of your people calling us?
No, this is very much me, myself, and I.
Excellent.
Happy New Year to you both. Well.
Happy New Year to you. James,
Happy
are you
New
hearing?
Year. I can hear, yes.
We're all hearing each other. This is fantastic. It sounds like it's a setup, doesn't it? We're launching the new phone in, and guess what? We've got a call. But no, we didn't solicit your call, Andrew. What is it you want to share with us this morning?
It's purely to say to all and sundry a happy 2023. I hope you had a great festive season. And let's look forward to some more sunshine, a little bit less moisture, and all the other trappings that Portugal's going to bring us in 23.
Oh, very nice. Don't go, though, because we want to talk to you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, beautiful. And yes, you say it's soggy in the capital for you as well. Then you've been a bit poorly. You've had a little bit of a bug as well as a bad neck, I believe. Is that right? You've been struggling one way or another with your health, right?
Well, it's not. I wouldn't say struggling with health. My creaking neck is a sign of me approaching 50.
Nonsense.
No, it's one of those things that it's been a big 22 for me, and of course moving was a big thing. There was a lot of festas enjoyed this year, last year, and yeah, but unfortunately over Christmas I got a little case of COVID because. My wife is obviously in the medical profession, caught it the same day as me. So I think after 2 years, it was inevitable to get a dose of something. So, but I'm back fighting fit again. My taste and smell has returned, and which is good because I didn't overdo it at Christmas, which is also a good thing.
Oh, okay. So you, how many boxed meals did you eat over Christmas?
None. This is the point. It's not that I don't enjoy some occasional dirty boxed food. It's the experience. The experience never aligns with the idea or the kind of thought that it'll be. Let's go and get a burger. And the idea of a burger sounds really nice until when you get served or try and digest said entity. The experience to me is always anticlimactic. And in Lisbon, we're very lucky that you can get everything delivered at a whim. Unfortunately, it gets delivered cold, and it's then cold and dirty, which is even worse. So I just got a bit fed up. Well, I mean, I've just got a bit fed up with it all, to be fair. So, and of course, I've been making some fantastic food at home, which has kind of spurred me on to dabble more.
Very good.
Rather than like delivered convenience.
Well, that sounds like look, you're not helping other people here, Raphael. Burger. Yes.
The key there is putting the two together. It's remembering that it sounds like it sounded like a good idea when it came up, but in reality, it sucks. So, putting them together, then you go, I'll do something else. I'll cook for myself. Perfect.
Yeah.
So it never meets the expectation or the anticipation. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true. It's like the pornography of the food world, I suppose, isn't it? boxed food, yucky. Look, Owen's here as well. Morning, Owen. With a little reminder, he wasn't going to let that pass, was Owen.
That's the mantra that he's offering to Andy. Box food, yucky. Box food, yucky.
Yes, it's a really, really good mantra for you, Andy, and any other devotees of the soon-to-be non-boxed food eating cult that we sound like we're starting this morning. Nuno's here as well with a greeting this morning. Lots of lovely comments. You're right on the line for a moment there, Andy?
Yeah, sure. I'm in the office, so yeah.
Yeah, it's better than work, isn't it? Andy, by Andy says, I prefer to walk on country tracks as I feel the life coming through my feet. I've sourced your video, Andy. We'll play that before we go out today, as opposed to dead, lifeless tarmac. So yeah, a matter of preferences, isn't it? Getting the sort of exercise. I mean, you know what? I had this. The other night when I was walking my dogs, I was thinking to myself, God, this walk is so boring. And then I realized it was me that had decided to go that way. And we can do this, can't we, in all areas of our life? And if you don't like running on tarmac, then why not stop and find a different way?
So many choices.
There are so
and
many
if it's
choices.
safe, do that barefoot.
Yeah, how about that?
You want to talk about a connection to earth, but obviously, if it's going to destroy your feet, not a good idea. But
a little walk with bare feet. How about that for 2023? Could be an overwhelmingly brilliant experience. Resolutions are not for me. I work with positive intentions all year round. And other people have been saying that. I think T-Duck said that as well. It's not about the calendar. It's about decisions and making choices. Happy New Year, also say Fiona. Everyone, hope everyone had a positive start to the year. I think it's going fairly well so far. Bob's also in. Bob, who will be the star of our webinar on the 16th of January. This might be a resolution transformational thing for people. Sex over 60 is what Bob and Viv will be talking about. Love and sex.
Great idea.
Isn't that a great resolution for the new year? Bon anno novo from you, Bob, and lots of love to you, Bob and Viv. A message for the GuMPers. Anna in as well. Anna Eshtivish. Good morning to you, Anna.
Hola, Anna.
Omano as well. Where did we get to with the Nunu's comment here? Oh, good morning. Happy New Year, everyone. Un forte abrazo to Carl and to James. Thank you very much. Sounds good when you say it fast. What's that? Food, is it? Is that possibly? Happy New Year, Owen. A greeting for you there from Victoria as well, and from Raphael. We're looking forward to hearing your plans unfold, Owen, this year. Invite acknowledged from Will Thompson. Let the court know. We've got a Lord with us who might be able to help with this. Let the court know, or now invite, had been request to Carl, Owen, Frank, Jenny, and co. Invite had been accepted. Gold leader standing by. Okay, Will. And happy New Year, everyone. No resolutions, just to complete all the goals I've set over the years. Okay, so gentlemen, we have an esteemed panel. We have Lord Gilchrist, who recently moved in the last year on the line to Lisbon. And we have James, who is listening caller. So is it necessary to have a twisted neck having moved and going to all the festas and moving? Can challenges to the health occur? And what can we do about that, James? Have you noticed that with migrants, how they sometimes get poorly as a result of their changes and shifts in life?
It's not like I have a massive group of migrants that I know or research on it. To me, it's, if I put the two together, it seems logical, especially the physical aspect of moving. The tension that we carry from the stress of making the move, in addition to the physical, could all lead to tweaks and twists and injuries that we might not otherwise have. That would logically make sense to me.
Okay, what would you say, Andy, to people who are making the move this year? Did you overdo it?
Well, yeah, the problem is for me, in my brain, I think I'm still 21, and therefore I heal within 2 days, that sort of indestructible, and I have been pretty robust in my life, but the reality is that I am sort of, the time has marched on a little bit, and also the other thing I have to add to that is, you've seen the size of Alpha. She's a very big, strong animal, and she has sometimes some bad manners on lead. And I used to hold her cable in my left arm, which is also, I think, what's contributed towards my twinge in my neck.
Yeah,
is trying to kind of restrain a very big, strong animal. on her lead manners, basically. So yeah, there's a combination deal. It's not just one thing or another. It was a big 22 for me, and I did move when I came to here in but before I moved all my heavy stuff in Easter in April.
Hello.
And that.
Hello. Hold on a minute. Look, this is phone-ins work best if people wait to be asked to speak. But Mrs. Emma's here.
I love you.
Hi, Daddy. Hello. Good morning. Who better to be on the new phone-in than the whole family?
Father.
Hello, Father. It's the eldest there. Okay. All right. Thank
Well,
you.
that was perfect. It was perfect because I was just thinking I want
Lord Gilchrist, who was just talking. Are you still there, Andy?
No, I'm here. I just thought I'd better stop to see what the kerfuffle was. So it might have been an emergency.
The kerfuffle has gone now, but it proves that we can have multiple people on the line, which is pretty exciting.
and hopefully serves as an example. Don't feel like you can't call in because we're talking with somebody else. We'll give everyone a turn.
It's amazing, isn't it? What incredible technology we have at our fingertips that only used to be available to the big broadcasters, and here we are doing it.
And Frasier.
And Frasier as well. Yes. So, Andy, I've got to ask you both then, both with your experiences of moving to Portugal and migration. I was thinking to myself, it's not going to be possible to underdo it, is it, when you're moving countries? There aren't many people who arrive in Portugal or anywhere going from A to B, for that matter, who said, yeah, I really underdid it. I could have tried so much harder and put so much more work and stress into this.
Fully rested and stress-free.
That's right. So what's the best way to deal with that? Let's start with you, Lord Gilchrist. If you were doing it again, what would you leave out? What would you bin, as it were? What did you overdo?
Well, what I think I should have done, I should have really moved earlier. I could have moved earlier. I should have moved earlier. But my stupid dedication to my role in the academic circles was when I sort of mentioned my intention of leaving to come to Portugal. My kind of management looked at me with sort of a crushed and weepy eye and said, "Oh, we can't replace you, or it's going to be really hard to replace you." So I kind of got
ego.
No, they negotiated with me to stay on physically in the UK for a longer period than I was planning to. So it's my stupid fault that I then moving became quite fraught and urgent to get stuff done and dusted by a deadline. I could have moved stuff ahead of my time, but again, it's always quite useful if where you are is to have the stuff around you that you might need. So again, it's my own kind of fault for kind of being longer than I should have been in the UK. So
all right, well,
if I was doing it again, I wouldn't be such a soft touch.
Okay, well, that's interesting because there was an ego call there. He was pretty harsh, I thought, on you there, the therapist here this morning. You just shouted out, ego. Now, how might that be dealt with?
James, the reality is it's very hard in a lot of countries for academia to hold on to or recruit staff.
Yes, I understand.
I said advertise my job, like get a replacement, and they couldn't. They didn't manage to secure anyone. So the reality is that I leave them high and dry, which is kind of, I felt bad for the students more than anything. So
yes. Now, to be clear, what I heard was, and I misheard it now that I'm hearing it again, was Andy saying I felt like they couldn't replace me, something along that line. So it was more like, oh, I'm important, and then not even in a negative way. It's like I didn't want to let them down. I know I'm valuable. They know I'm valuable. I don't want to leave them high and dry. But the point was they were trying to find someone else and couldn't, and you didn't want to leave them with nobody. So that was a mishearing for me.
That's fine. It sounded more egotistical than it actually is.
Yes.
I'm sure you're brilliant.
We don't have your replacement. Any chance you can stay on longer? And I was like,
yeah.
When you get twisted emotionally and mentally, and I'm a sucker for a sob story, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yes, and we're taught that saying no to those kinds of requests is not okay. So it's very difficult for us to say, well, I understand that you're in a jam, and I've got things I need to do, and now I'll put myself in a jam to compensate for you, or I'll let you handle your own jam and take care of myself. It's not a position that we're often taught that is okay for us to take.
Incredible.
It's a bit Hobson's choice, really, isn't it? It's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It really is.
So just going back on to that, and you know, if you're on moving country, James, you need to really put yourself first in many ways, don't you, and your health. So can we have a little bit of a role play of how Andy might have responded to his boss in that situation? Could you expand on that?
Wow. Well, it's what I tell my clients frequently is it's always easy for me to work out the best way to handle a situation when it's your situation.
The judge.
I'm on the outside. I'm looking in. I say, oh well, here's a way you could do that, and it would work quite effectively. It's the challenge is getting each of our own lives to run that smoothly. It kind of goes back to what I said just now, really, is this, it requires a certain amount of awareness, and it goes to the notice and choose and act. It's like, okay, notice how I'm feeling about this request. They're saying, we're in a jam because we can't find someone to replace you. Is there any way you could stay? Well, it probably in the moment doesn't feel like a choice, but it always starts there. The choice is, yes, I can stay, or no, I won't. And why would I choose no, I won't? You know, it's like, it may seem selfish, like selfishness is a bad thing, but sometimes selfishness is important because we have to do things. And there's no way, Andy, you could have predicted that you would end up in this kind of a bind with the move because you had less time necessarily. So, you know, if foresight was available, then maybe you would have made a different choice. But and hindsight gives you your answers. So in the moment, it's not quite as simple as that. But ultimately, the choice comes down to what's going to work best for you and what's going to work best for me, and what do I want to do about that? And then at that point, you make your choice, and then you move forward and take the actions necessary. So if you could have known that you would be in the position that you were in, you might have made, or you certainly could have chosen a different response, which would have left them high and dry. But that's on them. That's their responsibility. It's just like, I can't make you feel better. Only you can do that. Now, how can I influence that? Perhaps I can be here and support you, or whatever it is. But the feeling better is on you. So for them, replacing you is on them. That's their job. It's not your job to take care of them. But because of the goodness of you, the generosity of you, it's you made that choice.
Very good, Andy.
Yeah, I did encourage them. I said, actively go and recruit my replacement. I actually encouraged this behavior so they weren't left, without staff or personnel. I really did encourage it, and they said, we can't get anyone. So when it came to like end of semester, and I'm like, right, this is summer, I'm going to be off. They're like,
yes,
oh yeah, we need to have a meeting about possibly you staying on. And this happened, and then also in the mix was COVID. No one could predict how pandemic and how long and drawn out that event was, and I had to kind of do it in amongst it all as well. So, I mean, to be fair, COVID was actually kind of slightly beneficial in a way, because I was like, when they shut the borders, I was actually in Portugal, so I was stuck here last year in 21, which meant that we could actually move forward with me getting here. Otherwise, without COVID, I don't know if I would have still been here yet. So it was kind of a mixed blessing in some regards. But I think also ultimately it's easy to say what would I have done differently. I think everyone can say that about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Andy, look at this. You are the first caller on the biggest phone in Europe. Now, I've made that claim, and I think that's a reasonable claim, isn't it? It might be the only one, but it's certainly the biggest. And you were the first. So you'll be able to tell your grandchildren this. This is incredible. Tell Alpha later on when you walk her, as you sit in the park. You know what, dog? I was the first on the European phone-in.
Certainly the biggest on this show. Absolutely the biggest European call-in on Good Morning Portugal. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's going very well. Mrs. M has rejoined us. Everything okay, Mrs. M?
Yeah. I need to put
microphone.
All right, everybody. I'm the God.
Everything is good. Our birthday girl is in very high spirits. And the two boys have been very nice.
Okay, so we'll be going to the pub straight after the show. Fantastic news. Nancy, say hello, everyone. Joining the conversation late. Good morning, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
I'm new here, and we'll make sure that you are looked after. James,
welcome.
James, he normally works the room and looks after new people, but he's on the screen this morning. Yes, James is all about conscious. It is all about conscious choices. Remembering to use our breath to stay in balance is a key tool right under our nose. See what she did there?
Yeah, very
the
clever.
breath is right under the nose. Yes, we need to get her on the show to talk about that.
And I love the word conscious around choices, because we're making choices whether we know it or not. They're just conscious or unconscious. So that's perfect.
Ooh, such amazing value on the biggest phone in Europe this morning. And we've got, what's this? Receipt of invite in WhatsApp. I don't quite know what I'm agreeing to here, Will.
Yeah.
But I have.
Are you gold leader, Carl? Come in, gold leader. Come in.
I might be gold leader. And this is my gold squadron badge that I've been given as well this morning. We've got T-Cell and T-Duck. As well, so this is fantastic. That plot is thickening.
Yeah, what is all that about?
Well, we will find out. I'm sure Will call in at some point. Publicly, please. Promises are promises. He's making me accountable publicly, and I'm not even sure what I'm letting myself in for. Then,
you have a choice, Carl. You don't need to commit. You can choose not to commit, given the lack of information.
Thank you. I'm so glad
you can also choose to go along with something. And as you find out more information, make a different choice.
Thank you very much. Now, I think I should go everywhere with my wife and therapist. But I'm also
put us on the lead. Take us with your dogs. We'll all take the walk together.
I'm enjoying this risky behavior. Now, you might have noticed this. I have agreed to something. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm taking a slight delight in that, in the way that Andy might do when he's biting into a Big Mac that's cold and dirty, as he put it. Right, Joao F. I now realise my unforgivable mistake. We didn't even know.
It's all good. Don't worry,
now I'm offended. Now I'm offended.
Now I noticed. Oh.
Look at this. He left us all out. So here it goes. Good morning. He's put it right now. Good morning, Carl Munson, Louis Munson, James, and Lord Gilchrist. And apologies to anyone.
We love you, Joao. It's all good.
Have you met Joao in person, Lord Gilchrist?
No, I've invited him to the cave as well.
Right, okay.
And he's welcome, as all men folk are invited freely and openly to the cave. Carl.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Yes.
Andy, send him the link.
I would like to see more, but regardless, I've invited Joao to the cave and to the Facebook delights and nonsense that we have.
Yes.
But and also on Men Night Out in Lisbon, he's openly invited, as anyone is. In fact, a little funny story about that. We had a long-term Man Cave watcher message me from you, I think, Carl. He said, I'm going to be in Lisbon over Christmas.
Yeah.
Going to meet up for a beer. I'm like, we're all out tonight for the Man Cave Christmas beer. And so he turned up and joined us. A guy called Patrick, lovely guy.
Wow.
Looking to move from Hong Kong to Portugal. So
superb.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
His kind of network in Lisbon was suddenly expanded in no time at all. So,
yeah, and I'm very happy to be your secretary, passing on messages like that anytime. So,
yeah, Carl, if you would like to be my
or your PA. Yes.
Yeah, if you'd like to handle some sort of duties, that'd be great.
Well, actually, I've learned something this morning. I'm very honoured that you've asked me, but I do need to set a healthy boundary, and you're going to have to sort that out for yourself. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Well done.
How was that? My therapist and wife combo on the screen with me. That's the number to call on Europe's biggest phone-in. Look, please, folks, tell your friends all around Europe. We are in the best country in Europe, of course, here in Portugal. But other countries
don't tell them that, or they might not call. But tell them about the show. About the
they can challenge us. They can challenge us.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yes.
Quick quiz. 27 member states of the EU. How many sovereign states are there in all of the rest of Europe? Would you care to guess, James? You first.
55.
Not bad, Lord Gilchrist.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go lower, and I'm gonna go 10, maybe.
Wow. Okay, Mrs. M. Do you know the answer?
Double that. Double that.
What, 100?
No.
Or 20.
What did you say?
How 27? Many sovereign? Well, what were you doing? Were you doing some astrology for somebody there?
I was just checking to see if my phone worked from this side of the office.
Thank you for your.
Yes, working. It's working.
54, not bad at all. There are
because you said. I remember recently you said something like there's double it.
That's right.
Twice as many countries in the EU.
Yeah, and one of the wonderful things.
Sorry, in Europe than in the EU.
Yes, exactly. It's such an easy mistake to make, isn't it? Sorry, Andy, were you adding something there?
No, I didn't really. I think I didn't understand the question as much, but in EU as opposed to actual Europe.
Exactly. Because for the likes of you and I, those kids who are around 50 now or in their 50s, we were brought up with a realization.
Do you actually know that Andy's 50?
He told us earlier on. Yeah, while you were out of the room, he shared that he was 50. And we were brought up in the age of should we go into the common market or not? Should we join the EU? Yeah. And now Brexit. We've seen all of this come and go. Me and Andy with the age that we're at, and we've seen a certain conditioning of our idea of Europe as well, that it is a lot to do with the blue flag and the yellow stars. When in fact the answer is there are between 44 and 50 sovereign states in all of the European continent / peninsula, which is gets a little bit murky as you go towards the east.
How is there a differential of 6 there?
Because there are question marks about what is in and isn't in Europe, and what is sovereign, and whether it should be included. And Turkey, for example, straddles both.
Kind of like that Silver Coast argument. It's about borders and edges.
It's exactly like boundaries. That. It's exactly like that, and it's not clear. It's a little bit nebulous and a little bit political.
It's also the kind of hangover of empire, where we would sort of demark, that's Middle East, that's Mediterranean, that's North African, that's Scandinavian. The empire was very good at demarcation of things.
Says the Lord who's joining us on the screen.
And I mean, as a Brit growing up in the 70s and 80s, and then sort of going out to play in the 90s, Europe, when we were growing up, Europe was really like France, Germany, Italy, Spain.
That was it.
Portugal rarely got mentioned. And sometimes people might mention Greece. They were all the sort of popular holiday destinations. I didn't really know about anything else.
Yeah, that's right.
Belgium, maybe.
Netherlands. Yeah, Netherlands and Denmark didn't get on the list, or were they on the list too?
Not really. I mean, they just
Scandinavia. That was different.
I think
Arctica.
It's just a sort of bizarre. I mean, if we sat down and thought what is in Europe, we would probably come up with more. But most things that come to mind, what would flash in our minds would just be France, Germany, Italy, Spain.
You know what that is though? A lot of those European package holiday things were go to Europe, and it was your choice of France, Spain, Portugal, Greece.
Yeah,
that was your all inclusive, or your kids go free kind of package holidays.
Yeah.
No one goes to Germany for a holiday. They just don't do it. Doesn't have the tourism quite like Western Europe.
Well, I'm hoping somebody might challenge that notion and give us a call. We'll be doing this at 9:30 every morning until the cobwebs amass on the telephone and no one's calling. But we will be doing. I really like the idea of here we are. We have our intimate GuMPer gathering from 8:30. We're just checking in, making sure everybody's all right, and saying hi to the inner circle of regulars. And then we open out at 9 with a special guest, as you can see on the screen here, our mindful migration master, who is James this morning, and a special guest at 9 every morning. And then at 9:30, the special guest may or may not stay for it. James has coped admirably in this environment, but at 9:30 we'll expand out to all of Europe. To the 745 million people who live on this continent, which is actually a peninsula, and see where that takes us. And there's a few themes that I want to resolve here, given that it's 10 o'clock. This tabula rasa idea is the idea that we are a blank slate. Did you call it a shallow tube? That was the Portuguese translation. It's not, That doesn't sound so good as a blank slate, does it?
No.
It is the theory that individuals are born without mental content, and therefore all knowledge comes from experience or perception. So isn't that interesting? And it's not true, is it? Because there you are, you're growing up in England in the 1970s, and you think that Europe, no one goes on holiday to Germany, and Europe is made up of 5 countries. and this connects to what you were saying, James, of course, doesn't it? Is our programming and our conditioning. We can upgrade that, can't we? We don't have to accept that the map is the territory. The map is not the territory. What we believe may be very different to the reality, and I think that's a recurring theme that we can take away this morning.
And this argument between nature and nurture is getting less and less clear, because they're finding that environment impacts prenatal. And they're going back, and at what point is the brand new organism not influenced by its environment? So it's born with its DNA, but where does nature kick in is getting fuzzier and fuzzier. So the argument almost becomes moot. It's like it doesn't matter. They both influence.
You would enjoy speaking to Mrs. Gilchrist about this one, because she has done lots of reading on prenatal, development, and and lots of this kind of stuff. She also is a huge advocate for breastfeeding as being one of those things that's essential for babies as well. So
well, more than milk.
That's what it's there for.
It is, isn't it? What? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Not for okay. And yes, and more than milk is being delivered, obviously, isn't it? While a baby is breastfeeding there.
I think there's information sort of carried in that milk. Yeah, that sounds a bit bonkers.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put alcohol on the screen as milk was being mentioned there. I do beg your
pardon. Well, with all of this, now we have content for 4 or 5 more shows.
We do, don't we? Well, let's talk about breastfeeding tomorrow and breasts.
Do you know what? I'd love to.
Oh, sorry.
I would absolutely love to talk to your Mrs. Andy about her research. It might not be something the GuMPers want to, but I'd love to learn more.
She would probably do it offline, I guess. But she's an actual specialist to do with kind of like baby care, breastfeeding, all this kind of stuff. It's what she does. She's been a midwife for 20+ years.
Superb.
Midwives amazing.
They
I love
midwives. Incredible people.
She's like the most intelligent, most educated person I know, basically as well. So.
And we get you on the phone instead of her. Anyway, never mind. Maybe you can.
I enjoy saying midwifery. That's a good word, midwifery.
It's almost like midwifery. Okay, having grown up in Canada, maybe something similar is going on for Suze here, and world travel through US and Mexico. What appeals to me about Europe is the history. Yes, a rich history for sure. And I did talk about it on the live stream I did last night as I read through the Wikipedia entry and tried to lift it off the page basically last night. It's after 10 o'clock. Thank you, Lord Gilchrist, for being the first caller on Europe's biggest phone-in. How about that? Has he gone already?
I feel very, very lucky to be number 1 in 23 on Europe's biggest phone-in, and I highly suggest that everyone queues up to heat up that hotline.
I'm going to take that as a jingle. I'm going to cut that out.
That emotion.
There we go.
That hotline, people, get on the phone.
And for James as well, bit of mindful migration this morning. I don't think we even scratched the surface of what you wanted to talk about, did we, today, James? So we'll take it to the blog, shall we? And
and there's always next week. I think next week I could pick up on this idea and say, well, let's address it on the show.
All right, thanks, mate. So thank you, Andy. Thank you, James. Thank you to Bill and Marcus for sending in an image. I can't download yet, so I'll carry it across to tomorrow. But other greetings have been coming in.
Wow.
This is, who was this
is
from?
That from Stockholm?
I think that is, yes, well spotted, Mrs. M. That was from Stockholm this morning. Thank you, Anna, very much for that. That's really beautiful. Bon dia, snapshot from Stockholm, not Snotholm. That's a different place, isn't it, in Europe? Thank you for that, Anna. And this one, that's a rainbow opposite, I think, over the road from Bob and Viv this morning as well. Forgive me if I'm incorrect on that, but we've had a lot of incoming this morning, including this pledge that I've made to be part of the Gold Squadron. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. And we'll finish with a video from Andy in Andy in the Bayrada, who was out cycling. Anyone who wants to be inspired to do some exercise, watch this video, and we will see you tomorrow. So thanks, Andy. Thank you, James.
Okay, thanks everyone. Love.
Very good. He says it very well, doesn't he? He's clearly been here for a little while, and I think it's helping to have a Portuguese lover as well. Thank you very much, James. And we'll see you next week. And we'll
Obrigado.
Obrigado. And cheers, Mrs. M. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao, everybody. See you in the morning. Oh, there we go.
Bono Novo from the lovely Mirror. Bit rough out there today. Yep. New Year's Eve. There's a big festival here actually later.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.